Okay, the panelist and the moderator is unmuted. You can mute yourself or you can unmute yourself by your own willing and doing.
Thank you, Raymond.
We are starting in exactly 5 minutes. I would like to thank Evencio for supporting us in this panel. Evencio, you're unmuted for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I believe you know Coach Raymond. You're the one who recommended. You know Cyril. We have Nestor, we have Suas, and we have Josephine.
Hi, Evencio.
Hi,
How are you
hi, hi.
doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we
I
can.
can. We can hear you.
Okay, okay, okay. Nice seeing you all.
Same here, Venture sir. Same here,
Uh,
same here.
yeah,
Same
this
here.
is, I mean, this is
So,
our first international exposure, and under the leadership of Raymond, I'm sure it's going to be a Big Bang Theory. Thank you, Raymond, and all those, and your team also, who has really done wonders to put these things together.
thank you so much. I am sharing in the group chat for everybody the YouTube link for those who are finding it difficult to use Zoom. You may share it with anybody that you all want. So right now we are live on YouTube. We already have approximately 34 people joined in and more joining in every minute. I just want to confirm with the panelists if you all can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, we can. Loud and
Okay,
clear.
great. Because there are some private messages coming that some of the people cannot hear us.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I will do a bit of a tech support for them. We are going to start in exactly 2 minutes. Josephine, I need you to just monitor your audio because if I mute everybody, you may get muted as well. So before you speak, just check your audio, unmute yourself, and then you can take over.
Right. Noted, Raymond.
Okay. Coach Raymond, you had a family member joining in. I hope she's okay.
I'm just confirming.
Okay. Aldrin, I know you're here. Aldrin, you have admin permissions. You may please share the link of YouTube to everybody. Are we ready? Can we begin?
Yes,
Thumbs up from the
Yes.
panelists. Right.
absolutely. Yes.
Let us begin. It is 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and it is 3:30 p.m. Arab Standard Time. I know people are joining from all over the world, and these are the two primary locations that we're looking at the time. Having said that, welcome each one of you to this first ever online panel discussion with prominent personalities to help us understand, inspire, and take us with hope back home to Goa. My name is Raymond. I'm the one who will be guiding you with safety. The most important thing for this meeting is safety of each one of you. You know where you are, you know the location that you are sitting or standing or attending. You will watch where your windows are, where the exits are, and in case of an emergency, please leave the room in a safe and orderly fashion. Please let's not disturb the panelists while they are speaking. You have the chat box, which is open for everybody. You may leave your messages over there, and our moderator will take it from there. Our moderator will explain the whole protocol that we will follow, and we will take it up from there. I would like to thank few personalities. I would like to thank Evencio from Goa Dimensions, who helped me get some of the personalities that are talking today. I would like to thank Aldrin Menezes, Sebi Norona, John Fernandez from Kuwait, and Carmo Santos for marketing and promoting this event to reach maximum Goans all over the world. I would like to thank Toastmasters, Hazim Ibrahim and Fatima, who will be helping me do the technical part of moderation and taking this meeting to a next level. I am the timer for today to make sure that this meeting starts and ends on time. The agenda has been shared by email to everybody who registered. I will be putting it in the group chat in some time again for those who didn't receive it. Keeping that in mind, let us not wait. The event has to go on. And with this, I would invite the moderator for today, a family friend, a finance professional working in Kuwait, Miss Josephine Vieira.
Thank you, Raymond. A very good evening and a warm welcome each one of you present here today for today's session. I'm sure we'll all love a good story. So let me start the session with one of them. This is a story of a young man from a rustic Koan village called Raya. The young man wished to marry the farmer's beautiful daughter. He went to the farmer to ask his permission. The farmer looked him over and responded, Baba, go and stand out in the field, and I am going to release 3 bulls, one at a time. If you catch the tail of any one of the 3 bulls, you can marry my daughter. The young man stood in the pasture, awaiting the first bull. The barn door opened, and out ran the meanest, biggest bull he had ever seen. He decided that one of the next bulls had to be a better choice than this one. So he ran over to the side and let the bull pass through the pasture out the back gate. The barn door opened again. Unbelievable. He had never seen anything so big and so fierce. It stood pawing the ground, grunting, slinging slobber as it eyed him. Whatever the next bull was like, it had to be a better choice than this one. He ran to the fence and let the bull pass through the pasture out the back gate. The door opened a third time. A smile came across his face. This was the weakest, scrawniest little bull he had ever seen. This was his bull. As the bull came running by, he positioned himself just right. At just the right moment, he grabbed, but the bull had no tail. All of us had our dreams, resolutions, and plans in December 2019. Well, here we are today in the year 2020, supposed to be perfect. 8 months down the line, we are still trying to find a solution to COVID-19. Trying our best to settle down, invited to this masquerade ball with matching masks, gloves, and defensive movements. An era of uncertainty, of whys and wherefores has begun, of trying our level best not to be on the list of terminations being given away on a Thursday evening. This evening, I would like to welcome the young men who caught the fiercest bulls by the tails, who took a trial and turned it into a triumph. We shape clay into a pot. Its emptiness makes it useful and holds whatever we want. Thus, to maintain the decorum of the barn rules or the protocol for the evening are: kindly mute your microphone throughout today's session. Each of our speakers will be given 45 minutes each. Therefore, if time permits, the speakers will be given a chance to interact. Again, if time permits, specific selective questions will be taken from the audience via the chat. Be respectful to one another, please. Unfortunately, anyone not following the protocol will be led through the pasture out the back gate. Moving forward, our first speaker is Coach Raymond D'Souza. Coach Raymond D'Souza was a model seminarian and respected and diligent professional. He reached the peak of his employee career at a national level position at the group headquarters of one of India's most successful companies, and was suddenly sacked after his next job switch. He was unemployed, confused, depressed, and lonely for several months. He went down physically, emotionally, spiritually, and subsequently financially, until he realized God wanted him to climb a different mountain. Realizing that this can happen to him, it could happen to others too. This experience became the pivot point of his transition from a profession to a vocation. All of his past coalesced into a burning desire to irreversibly help and empower others who fall into the same boat, to elevate their game and move them to higher levels of professional and social contribution through commercial and social enterprise. He evolved as a trainer, facilitator, and business coach. Today, he is the only business coach in India offering 6 levels of progressive entrepreneurial growth and expansion to those committing themselves to his path of passion-based entrepreneurship. Raymond D'Souza calls passion-fueled entrepreneurship as passionpreneurship. As a passionpreneur coach, he handholds passion-based entrepreneur CEOs to start, turn around, and grow themselves and their business. The highly professional services he offers are confidential, personalized, and designed completely around the deepest pains and vulnerabilities of the entrepreneur CEO. Please welcome Coach Raymond D'Souza to rekindle us by choosing a unique and different path. The screen is yours, Coach Raymond.
Thank you, Josephine. So, welcome, audience. And as you have heard Josephine say, I have been in the space where many of you might find yourselves. So, I will be speaking from experience, and I will be speaking heart to heart as well as from the mind. So, whatever questions you have, do put it in the chat, and we will take it after I finish my session. The first step is to know at what level you are. And sometimes this may be unpalatable. So it is very important to face the truth. So on your screen, you will see 6 levels. So, and they are being put in the level bottom up. So at the very bottom, you find that this level is about being in debt. And another way to recognize if a person is at this level is negative cash flows. You are spending more than you are earning. You are consuming more than you are contributing. So this is an important measurable. You can delude yourself, but you cannot fool the numbers. So you need to look at your numbers. Those numbers tell you the unpalatable truth. Next level is hand-to-mouth existence. Whatever you are earning is getting spent. So at level 1, where you have negative cash flows, you are drowning. At hand-to-mouth existence, you are treading water, but you are still in the pond. You have not yet come onto dry land. At the next level, you are on dry land, but you are working hard. And this includes a big category of people. Anybody who's working for a salary gets included here. You may be a CEO, or you may be a shop floor worker, or you may be an unskilled or skilled worker. You may be an executive, you may be a staff. It doesn't matter. If you're working for a salary, this is the category you come under. So just make a note of the categories that you are coming under. Next level is again a big category of self-employed people. It's made up of professionals like maybe chartered accountants, lawyers, somebody who are in consulting, freelancers. An entire category comes over here. All these are self-employed. Next level is that of an enterprise owner. Notice I'm not using the term entrepreneur, but enterprise owner. Enterprise owner would be somebody who is owning an organization. There are employees and there is an office or a factory or a setup. So he owns an enterprise, and the definition of an enterprise is it operates without the physical presence of the owner. So if you take a vacation and your income takes a vacation, you are not an enterprise owner. The last level, which I've covered over here, is that of an investor. So an investor is one who has invested in businesses or maybe equities or maybe debt or whatever. But that is where you find yourself. Let's go deeper into this. Let's take 4 out of 6 levels. And you will find that at every level, you can either be successful or unsuccessful. It doesn't matter whether you are an employee, self-employed, enterprise owner, or investor. And it is again important to look in the mirror. Where am I? Am I successful or am I unsuccessful? Let's go deeper. Let's look at each category. So I have put, for each category, I have put 5 areas to look at: mindset, heart set, skill set, capacity, capability. What is in red is what makes the person unsuccessful. What is in blue makes the person successful. Just notice the subtle differences between the two, which may not be that evident to the untrained eye. For an employee, the mindset is deliver what the job requires. Now, you are actually doing what is required. Isn't that good enough? Well, you will find that those who succeed are ones who focus on the business and not on the job. These are the guys who are able to bring in money. They are able to bring in customers. They are able to do something more than what their job entails. And this is something that we may not really recognize. What is the hard set? Security. The entire focus is job security. And in today's world, job security does not exist. What is it that makes somebody successful here? Somebody who has the confidence to carry his or her resignation in the pocket, because that person has oodles of confidence to deal with any eventuality. Notice the difference here. When you focus on job security, you are looking for security outside of yourself. Whereas when you have confidence in yourself, you are looking inward. Notice this very, very important distinction. Next, skill set. Those employees who often struggle are technically very skilled, but what they may lack are the social skills, which successful employees have. They are able to work the room. They are able to know what the informal organization is, and they know how to save their skin. Capacity. An unsuccessful employee is very good at working hard. Unfortunately, those who succeed are working smart. Capability. The employees who is unsuccessful focuses on contribution. This is what I can do. Those who really succeed are the ones who take charge of their situation, of whatever they are handling, and give complete peace of mind to their boss and to the owner. Let's move ahead. What happens at the self-employed level? At the self-employed level, the mindset is to deliver what the customer asks. Isn't that what we should all look at? There is a difference with what the customer asks for and what the customer may require. Often the customer may not even know what he or she wants. They are saying something, but their requirement is something else. That business owner who is able to probe and get to the depth is able to address this. And that is where trust, bonding develop. Hard set. A self-employed person seeks satisfaction, whereas the successful person seeks problems which he or she will be paid for solving. So the person has got business acumen. He knows where money is available and where it is not. Many of us focus on just solving the problem. When it comes to payment, we are lost at sea and we don't get paid for it. And then we again curse our luck rather than developing business acumen. Skill sets. An unsuccessful self-employed person works in the business, gets so involved in the nitty-gritties and the operations, is completely swamped with work and activity. The successful self-employed person works on the business and is street smart. What is the meaning of street smart? This person has figured out how to exchange value for money. He knows there is an exchange and he has figured how to make this exchange work. What is the capacity? The capacity of an unsuccessful self-employed person is to turn contacts into friends. All my customers are my friends. You will hear many people say this. The smart self-employed person turns contacts into contracts, which means every month money flows into his or her bank. Capability. Most self-employed people are very good at turning problems into solutions. But the successful self-employed person turns problems into profits. So there's a big difference again over there. Let's look at enterprise owners. What is the mindset? He wants to do everything himself. So even though there may be employees around, he still is the best worker around. What does the successful entrepreneur do? Enterprise owner do? He gets it done through the best available person. He'll say, why do I have to do it? Why are you here? So he will get it done. He will not do it himself. Hard set. The unsuccessful enterprise owner takes care of customers. The successful enterprise owner takes care of employees and gets the employees to take care of customers. Skill sets. Many enterprise owners are technocrats. They are immersed in R&D. They are immersed in making the product better or improving their system and making their operations efficient. Whereas the successful enterprise owner is business smart. All he ensures is sustainable cash flows. Capacity. An unsuccessful enterprise owner focuses on improving operations and efficiency. Whereas the successful enterprise owner will focus on raising standards and documenting systems and processes. Whereas an unsuccessful enterprise owner will focus on giving oral instructions every single time. And this is why there are a lot of interruptions every single day and lots of calls seeking instructions and direction. Capability. Again, enterprise owners focus on solving technical problems, whereas the successful enterprise owner turns problems into products and services. He doesn't just solve the technical problem, he solves it commercially as well and ensures if I have this problem, others have this problem too. And by having saleable products and services, he is able to ensure cash flow. Last category, investor. Again, the mindset of the unsuccessful investor is making money, whereas the successful investor assembles a personal team of experts whose only focus is to grow his businesses and net worth. A hard set of an investor, unsuccessful, they take care of their investment, but the successful investor takes care of his personal uplifting network. Now, this is the term that I've coined. So what is a personal uplifting network? If you look at billionaires, they have become billionaires because they have assembled an inner circle. Most people outside will not be aware of their inner circle, but all the decisions are discussed and taken in this inner circle. And it is because of this inner circle that every single person is uplifted and they become millionaires and billionaires. Any successful achiever is there because he has cultivated his personal uplifting network. Most of the time, unsuccessful investors continue to focus on their investments. Get this difference. Skill set. Again, it is about picking the right investments because the focus is on making money. But what does a successful investor do? He is looking at investing in the right entrepreneurs, in the right companies, and in other smaller investors. So he focuses on investing in people, whereas the unsuccessful investor is focusing on investments. Capacity. The unsuccessful investor will focus on improving returns, whereas the successful investor will focus on increasing contribution and impact. He is not focused on himself. He's focused on what is the difference he can make outside and beyond himself. And we come to the very last part, which is the capability. So a shrewd investor, a strategic investor will have the ability to turn around businesses and investments. But a visionary investor will develop social enterprises to structurally address social problems. That is a very, very big difference. I hope you are getting each of these distinctions very, very clearly in your mind. Let's move ahead. So now, what do you have at each level? When you are in debt, what you have is debt. In fact, more debt than you know what to do with. At hand-to-mouth existence, you have cash flows, but they are not enough. As an employee, you have a job. As a self-employed person, you have skill sets. As an enterprise owner, you have a team. And as an investor, you have assets. So what's the problem? The problem is at negative cash flows, you have unpayable debt. It is because you cannot pay the debt that the debt has become a problem. As long as you can pay it, it was fine. So the problem is not the debt. The problem is your ability to pay it, to ability to service it. One of the ways to get out of that is to be disciplined and be accountable to somebody else. Many of us will find it difficult to be accountable to ourselves. So this is where when we allow somebody else to hold us accountable, that is when we are able to also practice discipline. So the problem is at this level, we lack that. So that is a problem. At hand-to-mouth existence, incoming cash only pays for expenses. So what you need is surplus cash, which currently you do not have at this level. At employer, you have that surplus cash. So you are definitely comfortable in the way you live. But what troubles you, especially mentally, is the job insecurity and the consequent income insecurity. At self-employed, you are able to create value, but your problem is inability to leverage your value. As an enterprise owner, you have a team, but they may not be in synergy. They may not be in sync. They may be lacking direction. They may be lacking focus. They may be lacking in productivity. So that is where you need to address that part. And as an investor, your biggest problem could be you are asset rich and cash flow poor. What's the solution? So let's take it from top this time. If you are an investor and you have got multiple assets, one of the things that you need to do is identify the asset which you can liquidate to generate required cash. So check the amount of cash you need and then work backwards to see which is the asset that you may need to liquidate. You may need to also look at it another way as which is the asset which is most easy to liquidate, because that is your biggest problem. You may have assets, but when you need it, they may be illiquid. So it will take time to get it liquidated. And also you may not get the price you want. So this is where you have got to do an analysis and actually do a reality check in the market to see which liquidation of which asset will give you your required cash flow. That's your solution as an investor. As an enterprise owner, you need to repurpose your team. You need to give them new direction and a new focus. You need to help them differentiate between activity and productivity. As a self-employed person, you have got skill sets. You need to learn how to monetize those skill sets. And one of the ways to do that is to promote your offerings. So you need to run profitable promotions. So you need to get into a cycle. It could be a monthly cycle or it could be a quarterly cycle. And every month or every quarter, you need to run a promotion, because through that, you can get the cash that you need. As an employee, the biggest thing you need to address is a change in your mindset. let me dwell on this for some time. Our entire education system and society conditions us to become employees. The problem with that is we learn to take instructions and we are not able to take risk. We are not able to deal with an unknown situation. We need things to be explained to us. And these become very, very important mental barriers. Let me share something about myself. When I was working in the headquarters of the successful company, one of my friend's father told me, Raymond, you must get into business. And I'm nodding my head, not understanding a word of what he's saying. Because I'm getting a big monthly salary. Why would I want to leave my job? And he told me, Raymond, once you get into business, you will never feel like leaving it. So I continued with my job. But when I changed my job and got into another job with a multinational company, I was sacked by email within 29 days. I had not even completed a month in that company. Whereas in the previous company, I had got promoted twice and I had worked there for 8.5 years. So obviously there was substance in me. Yet in the new company, they did not find me good enough. And I found myself on the street. I was so down and out. I remember almost crying. What does God want from me? And for 7.5 months, I was unemployed only because I went to 4 different cities in India. I went to Pune, I went to Bangalore, Chennai, Secunderabad, looking for a job because that is what I was conditioned to do. Only because I did not get a job, I got into business. And this is what happens to many of you who are listening to us. It is because you don't have a job that you may be looking at an alternative. Whilst you're in a job, you never look at it. And so fine, I said, I realized I need to climb a different mountain. So I said, let me get into training. But like me, others were getting into training. What do? I was part of the clutter. So to differentiate myself, I said, I will not focus on content. I'll focus on process. Where are you? Where can you be? How to get you there? Second, I said, I won't work with corporates. I will work with business owners. So these are the 2 decisions I took. It was a blue ocean. Nobody was in that place. And that is how I started. Unfortunately, I had a very steep sales learning curve. I struggled to sell. It was so difficult that I did not earn any money for months together. When I got an assignment, I did not get resales. I did not get referrals. It went from bad to worse. And it took me almost 8 years of struggle. It was so bad that I finally decided to stay at home to save on food and travel costs. My wife was working at that time, so I was able to have food on the table. So what did I do? I revisited sales. I took painful feedback from my clients, and it was really painful. They told me things I did not want to hear. It hit me below the belt, but I took it. And third, most important part, I completely reworked my business model. And then I got back into the field. I was in touch with business networks. I got work. I got referred. So I got referrals. I got resales. And today, I feel proud to be the only business coach in India who is offering 7 levels of coaching. And not only that, successful entrepreneurs look at me to actually guide themselves and their business. For a person who was unemployed, this is a big, big step. If I have done it, I'm sure you can do it in your area too. But you need to open up your mind. You need to change your mindset. You need to not look at unemployment as a curse, but as a blessing. because there is an opportunity hidden inside it. And that is what you need to uncover. You need to look at it and you need to see if the door is closed, what is the window that God has opened for you? I was banging my head on the wall, but there was a big door that opened for me. It can open for you too. So if you are an employee, if you were an employee and you are unemployed now, it is not a step down, but you can actually move 1 or 2 steps up. And that is by becoming a freelancer or becoming a self-employed person. How you can do that, we will explore. Let's just complete the next point. If you are a person who is at hand-to-mouth existence, you can choose one of the 4 above. So if you have got assets which you can liquidate, you can take that route. If you are an enterprise owner and you have got a team, you can repurpose that team. If you are if you have got skill sets, you can run profitable promotions. If you don't have any of those 3, don't look for a job, look for an assignment. And if any of you would like help to design your perfect assignments, please get in touch with me and I will give you a format and I will also coach you of how to design your own ideal assignment by which you can get a part-time job and still find something better to do with the remaining time that you are left with. So don't look at unemployment as a curse. Don't look at it as a setback. Look at it as a blessing, because gratitude can turn you around. What happens if you are in debt and negative cash flows? It is a very, very painful situation, because I remember when I was there and I needed money and I would ask somebody for it. They would ask me only one question: when will you repay that money? And I had no answer. It was the most shameful period in my life. So the first thing you need to do is accept responsibility for a situation. Ruthlessly cut every avoidable cost. You need to draw up a 3-month plan. Please understand, you cannot turn around your situation in an instant. It requires time. It may require at least 3 to 6 months to get you into cash positive arena. But you may need a plan and you may need help to put that plan into place, as well as help to make that plan work. Do not hesitate to take help. Ensure somebody else holds you accountable for productivity and results. Okay? Embrace change. Another very important point: unlearn what does not work and relearn what will give you traction. What is traction? Traction is desired results. Are you getting into positive territory? That is traction. Are you getting positive results? That is traction. So step by step, you need to take baby steps to move ahead. Last but most important point: big difference between doing what is comfortable and doing what is required. If you are a man and you need to put food on the table, you need to go out and do whatever it takes. If you are a woman and again, you need to put food on the table, you need to drastically see what is it that can get cash flow into the home. This is something to all categories. Okay. One is, please understand, if we are in a financial mess, it means we really do not know how to handle money. So this is where we need to take help from qualified, competent, trustworthy professionals. So please get a financial plan drawn up for yourself from professional financial advisors. A very important skill that you will need to learn is how to get your money to work for you. You are an expert at working for money, but now you also need to learn how to get your money to work for you. Third, learn to respect and take help from trustworthy niche experts. So those three words are very, very important. Again, this is a term that I have coined. So a person can be trustworthy, but may not be an expert. A person may be an expert, but may not be trustworthy. Person may be trustworthy expert, but not a trustworthy niche expert. So you need to check not by yourself, but by checking with others as to whether the person you are going to consult is a trustworthy niche expert or not. Learn to ask, learn to deliberate, learn to consult. Learn to exercise due diligence before parting with your money. So again, this is a skill that you need to develop. Last point, invest in developing business acumen and entrepreneurial knowledge. Look at how many years you have spent in becoming a technically qualified person, whether it is be a doctor, engineer, uh, whatever field that you are in. You have spent a lot of time, money, effort going for full-time classes, part-time classes, getting certificates, getting experience, and building your resume. If you're going to get into business, you need to ask yourself, am I really qualified to be in business? Do I have the business acumen? Do I have the entrepreneurial knowledge? Believe me, I have seen experienced entrepreneurs who lack business acumen and entrepreneurial knowledge. So because you have a business, it doesn't mean that you have business acumen or you have entrepreneurial knowledge. In fact, one of my favorite taglines is, it is better to have a coach without a business than to have a business without a coach. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Raymond. That was an insight right from the bottom up. Right now, I'd like to open the floor to the panelists. If they have any questions to address it to Coach Raymond. Okay. Moving
Raymond,
forward. Sorry.
Sorry, just one quick question. Coach Raymond, very insightful session. I liked many things that you pointed out. I just wanted, if you could spend a couple of minutes talking about going beyond one's comfort zone, because I think it is human nature to resist change. There is always some inertia when you have to try something new. And I found that most of the successful people that I have seen around me, most of the effective people that I've seen around me are those who are not scared to try out something new for the first time. So if you could share some thoughts on how one can cultivate the right mindset for that, I think that would be very useful.
Got that. Thank you, Suhas. That's a brilliant question. And thank you for pointing it out and giving me an opportunity to elaborate on this. So again, let me share an incident from my life. I happened to be in the 9th standard and we were having athletics. So the heats were going on and I was running a race and I still had to qualify for the finals. And in that particular race, I remember I was almost close to the end of the finish line and I was in the first two. And I did one simple thing. I had the presence of mind to take a longer last step. And that made me a winner in that heat. And with the result, I qualified for the finals. Do you know what is the meaning I took from this? I told myself, I'm an athlete. One big step, slightly longer step, few inches, and it defined me as an athlete. So let's take another example. How do we build muscles? We build muscles by doing regular exercise. So let's break down exercise. Exercise is movement which has got repetitions. Now, as you repeat that particular movement, a time comes when you develop pain in your muscles. And this is the point when average people stop. And people like, uh, uh, who is this actor? Who is a bodybuilder? Hollywood
Salman
actor?
Khan.
Pardon? No, Hollywood actor? Who is also in politics?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what Arnold says? He begins counting when he starts getting pain.
Hmm.
So please understand, we count until we get pain. But the guys who are on top of their field start counting and continuing to do those repetitions. So how does muscle gets built? Muscles get built when you reach into this pain area. And this is where achievement happens. This is the zone of accomplishment. This is the zone of pain that separates average people from the winners, from the achievers, from those whom we study in history, and from those who become history. So thank you for that question, Swaz. Moving out of your comfort zone is the thing. You make friends with pain and you become friends with achievement.
Thank you.
Well said, Coach Raymond. Since we have a few moments of time, we will move to the audience. I would like to request the audience to please type out your specific questions to Coach Raymond in the chat box, please. And I'll take it up from there. Since I can't see any questions.
Yeah, so
currently,
please feel free to ask your practical issues that you are facing. Nothing is right or wrong, but sometimes we need to just open up our hearts as well. So just feel free and ask whatever you want clarity on.
well,
How to find a trustworthy niche? Just read the rest of that question, Josephine. How to find a trustworthy niche and an experienced financial advisor. Okay, so let me tell you about the financial advisor part. So you can look at the financial advisors that you have around you. So you'll get two types: those who give you free advice and earn from the investments that you make through them. And second is those who are fee-based financial advisors who will charge you a professional fee and they will give you a report. You will get a category called certified financial planners. So that's again, you can check. So that is another way to find planners, and you will also get SEBI registered certified financial planners. So these are 4 different ways by which you can find a financial advisor. How to find a trustworthy niche expert? Now that Google is there, you can check. You can check by checking on their profiles, checking their testimonials, talking to people that they know, and talking to people who have worked with them. You need to do some research online as well as offline.
there's one question from the audience. What if you have already taken risk and it did not work out? And now you think a lot
Get that?
that you don't want to take more risk.
Right. So there are 2 models in wealth creation. One is what I call as resource based. Resource based means I need something. And if I don't have that something, I'm stuck. There is another model which is called resourcefulness and which operates completely differently. Now, the problem with the resource-based model is there are no maps. So we don't have clarity on what will work, what will not work. And therefore, we do not know what is risk in this because everything is unknown, everything is a risk. And therefore, in this model, the only way to progress is by failing. In the model that I use, there are things which are very, very clearly mapped out. So it becomes very clearly to know what will work, what will not work. So the way to handle it is to educate yourself through the system. Because if you have not educated yourself in this, you will not be able to really develop mastery on it. In whatever area you're doing, suppose you're going to get into stock investing, you need to educate yourself. If you need to become clear, are you cut out to do that? Are you emotionally mature to do it? Have you got the stomach to take the losses that will come? Are you an investor or are you a trader? Are you on the technical side or are you on the long side? You need to know a lot about yourself, about what you are doing. What happens is with very little knowledge and using all of our money, we get into it. So when confidence is more than competence, you have a problem. So please be careful. That is when you lose all your money. When confidence exceeds competence. So please build your competence first, then act on your confidence. So where investments are concerned, please take professional help. Don't do it on your own.
We are approaching the time for the next speaker. So if you have any questions, could you send it to us via your email, registered email earlier, and we will answer your questions with regard to the specific speaker. Right? I'd like to summarize the session with saying there's no pain when there's no gain. So if you want to take something up, there should be pain involved. And truly enough, the caterpillar thought that life was over till it turned into a beautiful butterfly. Thank you, Coach Raymond, for this very interesting, down-to-earth insights which relate to our very life.
Thank you, Josephine.
I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Suhas Malia. Suhas Malia is an executive director at EMCO Goa Private Limited, a family-owned and family-run business that has been operating in Goa since 1956. The business has diversified interest in mining, barge loading, distribution of FMG products, and a small footprint in dairy and farming. They have recently set up a food manufacturing unit for their own brand, Indium. In March 2012, Suhas returned from a 13-year stint in the software industry to join his family business. Immediately before that, he was part of Mindtree's technical pre-sales team in their product engineering unit and was based in San Jose, California. In addition to his role in the family business, Suhas is also a product advisor with Jody Lincoln, a Chennai-based startup, and is a lead member of the IT application group at Vidya Vikas Mandal, helping them standardize their IT platform. Please welcome Mr. Suhas Malia to share his experience as an entrepreneur and his transition into the family business. The screen is yours, Mr. Suhas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is my screen visible to everyone?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
Now?
Yes.
Yes, we can. We can see your screen now, Suhas.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Excited to be here this evening with all of you. So I'm going to we had some very useful and insightful pointers about mindset from Coach Raymond. I'm going to be referring to a few of those. Um, I've kind of expanded a little bit on the original agenda of this. I've said returning to Goa or India. So expand our horizon, expand the canvas. So I'm going to talk about, when there is a relocation, there's always a disruption in your life. So I want to talk about what I like to call the compulsion intent matrix of relocation, a little bit of introspection. I want to talk about the mindset that is required for cultivating your own business. It may be like Coach Raymond said, you need to map yourself and understand at what level you are. Are you self-employed? Are you an investor? Are you an enterprise owner? And so on. So whatever it is that you want to cultivate, there is a certain mindset that is required. Since we're talking about people returning to Goa and possibly starting off on their own, either as self-employed professionals or as an enterprise owner or as an investor, I thought it will be useful to talk about the business environment in general, a quick SWOT analysis, a very high level snapshot of what the business environment is. And then I thought I'll talk about the specific opportunities. I just want to talk about also some common concerns, some very common questions that I always hear, and especially when I went through my own transition, the usual questions that people ask. So if you look at your own the trigger for your relocation or the trigger for your transition, if you map it or if you plot it on two axes, one is the compulsion axis. What has triggered your relocation? Is it voluntary, or is there some external factor that has triggered your relocation? And you also plot it along your intent. What is your own intent? Are you willing to come back? Are you wanting to come back? Have you been planning to come back? So if you look at these two axes, that's roughly what it would look like. So if you're coming, if your relocation is triggered by compulsion with very little intent, obviously the dominant emotion is anxiety and frustration. On the other hand, at the other extreme, if you have been extremely willing and you've always been looking forward to relocate, it's not out of compulsion. Obviously, excitement and aspirations are your dominant emotions. This is, of course, the comfortable corner. No compulsion, no intent. Stay put, stay where you are. Right. Everybody who has gone out of home has already gone through 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 rounds of relocation. So I would urge you to, somewhere think back and plot where each of those relocations comes here, because I think that introspection is important to temper your whole mindset and your preparedness for the transition. Right. So, like I said, in both these extremes, emotions and expectations have a huge influence. At this end, it is a lot of negative emotions, a lot of low morale, because you don't know what's happening. You're doing something that's not, that's against your wishes. And at this end, you are completely fired up. Both of them can potentially be a problem. At this end, negative emotions always are a problem. Low morale is a problem. But too much of it is also not good, because what will happen is that you come all charged up, all fired up, thinking you can solve world hunger, and then the frustration sets in. So it's important in both cases to moderate your expectations. So in both cases, with the right mindset, you can make your transition smooth. So what you have to really do is cultivate the right mindset. Right? So I've identified 5 elements of mindset that I think are important. One is your mindset towards business. The second is your mindset towards compliance. I think it's important to be aware of government schemes. These provide a enabling platform. These provide some sort of enablers for somebody who's wanting to start up. I believe moderation of our mindset is extremely important. I think it is particularly important today in very high decibel discourses on all types of media. because if you don't moderate your own thinking, then it becomes difficult to take rational decisions, and the rational decisions are extremely important if you're going to be doing something. I mean, if you have to sustain in today's world, whatever the role that you're playing, I think that moderation is important. And then I want to talk about sustainable expectations. So I'll touch upon each of these. So let me start with the first one, our mindset towards business. There is a paradox that I find in the way we look at money. This perhaps has to do with the way we have been, the way our own schooling has, the way our own schooling has happened. Somewhere we were told thinking about money was bad, right? Now, what is the paradox I'm talking about? Individually, we all recognize the importance of money. Individually, we all recognize the financial stability that money gives us, the financial security that we want to acquire through money. And individually, we all want to make money. But collectively, I still find there is some sort of a stigma about making money. So, if as an individual, I earn 1 crore of rupees, that's awesome. But if Hindustan Lever or Nestle earns 500 crores of money, they're a greedy corporate. So that kind of a paradox is unsustainable, right? So I think we have to cultivate the right mindset. You have to follow laws. Compliance is important. One mustn't be greedy. Agreed. All of those are extremely important. But we shouldn't have this paradox, right? And then I want to also talk about the multiplier effect and opportunities in the ecosystem. For that, I'm going to tell you, I want to walk you through the story of a laddu. I'm sure all of you have eaten some sort of a laddu. All of you have some variant or some variety or some type of a laddu that's your favorite. When you talk of something that is produced and sold, normally we would think of the ingredients for the laddu. You would think of the production of the laddu and how it is sold. But in reality, there are a lot of other things that happen behind the scene, right? Okay, so in reality, there are a lot of other things that are happening behind the scene. If this product is manufactured in a factory, okay, this product is manufactured in a factory, you need to have the necessary licenses in place. You probably have a brand. You have to pack and label it, and then you have to account for your business. Now, each of these entail a set of steps, right? When I buy these seemingly simple ingredients, I'm going to a local shop, I'm going and dealing with the local business, and then I have to transport that to the factory. The factory itself requires civil work to be carried out to get the shed ready. I need a fabricator to get a bunch of things done. I need to put up signage, maybe for marketing, maybe for compliance reasons, maybe for my process definition. Obviously, I have to do painting. I complete the civil work. I have to do painting. I have to get all the electrical stuff, wiring done. I have to get my equipment in place. And only then can I go and apply for my licenses, which is, in the case of a food product, I need an FSSAI license. I need a pollution control license. If there's a factory, I need a fire safety audit carried out. And then I have my brand. Right. So for my brand, I have to go through a logo design, which means I need a graphic designer. There's a trademark registration that I have to do, interaction with the government authorities. And only then can I start my production, right? And for the production, I need my workforce at different levels. The skilled labor, unskilled, managerial, supervision, domain experts, food technologists. I need IT support to be able to track what's happening. And of course, I need quality control. And if I have to pack and label this product and sell it in the market, I have to design my package. I have to design it in a way that this will not break, this will not spoil, this cannot be tampered with. I need to publish the nutrition value on the package, which means I need to go to a lab. I need to get it tested, and there are rules about what I need to put on the label, right? And only then I pack it. And then, of course, I sell it, which is easier said than done. Like Coach Raymond said, if you can't sell, there's no money coming in. The business doesn't. it's not viable, right? So I have to sell. That is the most important function. For that, I have to have my sales team. I need to have my supply chain in place. I need to know where I'm going to stack it, how I'm going to transport it. I need to have a website up and running. I have to have social media channels in today's world. And then, of course, all the fun stuff with all the accounting and the taxation, and I need IT support there too, right? So um, what am I trying to, what's the point I'm trying to make here? That, every single product that we are talking about, or every single activity that we undertake, has this set of activities around it. So it may be a laddu, it may be a packet of Maggi noodles, it may be a packet of diapers, it may be a car. So whether you're talking of a laddu, packet of noodles, diaper, a car, whether you're talking of the mining industry, you're talking of education, schools, colleges, you're talking of hospitals, you're talking of tourism, you're talking of agricultural produce, right? You're sowing, I mean, the crop that you harvest, that has to be packed, that has to be moved somewhere. So every activity that we do, every economic activity that we do, there are two things that we must understand: the multiplier effect and the opportunity that it presents. So, the multiplier effect is that every business spawns an ecosystem. When I talk of, setting up a factory, there are all of those things that I mentioned, right? The civil work, which means I have to have a contractor involved. I have to have a fabricator. The fabricator has to go and buy steel. The steel has to be transported. If it has to be transported, it means that there is a truck somewhere that is running. If there's a truck somewhere that's running, there's a mechanic shop that gets business. There's a tire shop that gets business. When the truck is running on the road, there's a tea shop along the way that gets business, right? So every business activity, every economic activity, whichever activity that may be, you may be manufacturing a product, you may be giving a service, every business activity spawns an ecosystem of supporting activities. And every business that is there, every business activity, every economic activity needs that supporting ecosystem. So, it's one feeding into the other. And each of these ecosystems spawn their own sub-ecosystems. So when you talk of packing and labeling, I need a food lab. If I need a food lab, they need to go and hire a lab technician. They need to buy the chemicals that are required for carrying out their tests. They need to invest in, IT to be able to punch in all the reports, share those reports, and have their own catalog, the range of testing, and so on. So which means that this generates even more opportunities. Market-driven and compliance-driven systems have a trickle-down effect. So what am I talking about? Today compliance is a big space, and that's one of the things I'm going to be talking about in terms of the opportunities that we must look at. Market-driven, as an example of market-driven systems, if as a kid you've seen somebody coming to repair your roof, all they did was got a ladder, climbed up there, took the tiles, finished their work, and got off. If you stayed in the building, they would go up to the terrace, climb out on the ledge, do some dangerous stuff, exciting stuff that we were never allowed to do, and go and do their stuff, and they're done. Today, if you look at a lot of these people, they come with the right gear. They come with safety belts, they come with helmets, which is good, which is really good. But what that also means is that, all of these things are generating economic activity. So the point I'm getting at is that, when you look at a business, if you're looking at this goes back to, the context of a transition. You're looking at a transition, you're looking at a relocation. The question in your mind is there something that I can do? Is there some economic activity that I can be engaged in, which is going to earn me money? You have to look at every business around you as a subset or as sum total of all of these ecosystems. When you start looking at every business or every economic activity as a sum total of these ecosystems, that's where you will be able to identify for yourself where you can fit in. Maybe you're a chef, maybe you're a fabricator, maybe you are a lab assistant. Every one of these today has an opportunity, because we are now living in a very complex interconnected system of ecosystems, right? So all of these have given rise to a whole new set of skill requirements as well as employment opportunities. And this is particularly true in tier 3 cities and in rural areas. today in Margao, if I have to get a good package designer, for example, it's difficult. It's not that there aren't, but they're relatively few. This has been a vicious circle in the past because there wasn't sufficient businesses to sustain enough, let's say, graphic designers or package designers. There aren't that many locally. And because there aren't that many locally, we have not been looking for these skills locally. But today that is changing. So in tier 3 cities and rural areas, these are extremely big skill gaps and skills that businesses are looking for. So the point I'm getting at is that while we push for accountability of businesses, while we push for compliance of businesses, while environment protection is good, what we need to do is to encourage and promote more businesses, and we need to encourage and promote more economic activity. And we also need to encourage and support more enabling infrastructure. So, if there is, if there is a road being built, I would support it because it means that you are able to transport people in a safer way. You can transport goods quicker. If there's a 2-lane road becoming a 4-lane road, I would support it because it means it's making things easier for everybody, right? So I think that is one element of the mindset that we must all embrace, that if we are looking to generate economic activity, we must support other economic activities because the multiplier effect generates all these opportunities. The second element of the mindset is our mindset towards compliance. For long, there has been this, a tendency to not be fully compliant. And that, I think, is perhaps because there has also been an incentive not to be compliant because of various reasons, right? But that is changing today. There is compliance on different aspects. You have your regulatory compliance, you have your quality compliance, you have best practices that are being adopted. Today, I think the Indian market or the Indian business ecosystem, the producers as well as the consumers are becoming a lot more quality conscious. They are becoming a lot more oriented, aware of, as well as oriented towards best practices, right? So this has increased the compliance related activities. Compliance is also a significant focus of the regulatory authorities today. Especially in the financial services, there is a significant amount of tightening to ensure that the proper compliances are in place, proper taxes are paid, and so on. There's also a significant emphasis on training. This is something that was not the case about 10-15 years ago. Everybody recognizes the importance today of getting trained from the right people, right? There was a good question to Coach Raymond about how do I identify the right financial advisor. So I think this is a mindset that is changing. That's very good because we recognize that we can't do everything by ourselves, and there are experts, domain experts. There are experts in each area, and I would rather go to them and do it right the first time rather than doing a trial and error. So that is another big area of opportunity. And compliance, I'm finding that today it is being embraced voluntarily by a very large number of people, and that number is increasing. But there is still a big opportunity there because that base is still growing, right? The third element of the mindset required is awareness of government schemes. There are a ton of government schemes today, but the important thing is that many of them work and many of them are delivered online. So I've just picked up a few of them. MSME registration is something that I think is extremely relevant for somebody trying to set up their own business. This is just a registration that certifies you as being a micro, small, or medium enterprise. The charges are about 1,500 to 2,000 rupees. If you do it through an attorney, maybe another 1,500, 2,000 rupees that you'd pay for by way of processing fee. What advantage does this give you? This gives you discounts on a lot of other government services. So for example, if you have to register a trademark, which by the way is completely online and is fairly inexpensive, which was a pleasant surprise that I had some months ago. It costs about 9,000 rupees to register a trademark. But if you have an MSME registration, you can do it for 4,500 rupees. You get a straight 50% discount. Right. So there are several of these schemes. I'm not going to enumerate each of them, but I'm just saying that as part of the mindset that we need to cultivate, I think it is important we generate, I mean, it is important that we are aware of which of these schemes are relevant for us and how to get the service from these schemes. As I said, many of them have moved online. I think moderation is important of economic views, of political views, because once you harbor an extreme opinion, then it becomes difficult to gauge the on the ground reality. And when you are running your own, when you're sailing your own boat, again as a self-employed professional or as an enterprise owner or as an investor, it's very important that you are connected to ground reality. You cannot be harboring these prejudices, because then you'll make ill-informed decisions. And then the last one is sustainable expectations. When there is a crisis, I think everybody has to roll up their sleeves, and that is one of the fun things about being an enterprise owner. It's also one of the risks when you are an enterprise owner, if you keep rolling up your sleeves and not giving the focusing on what you should really be doing, right? So what I mean by flexibility of roles and responsibility is that when the going gets tough, I think we should not shy away from taking up whatever opportunity is available. There is also this paradox of aspirations and efforts. Coach Raymond rightly talked about what happens if your confidence exceeds your competence. I think that is a very important grounding that each of us have to have. In some ways, many of these lessons are contradictory, because we keep saying go out of your comfort zone, but we are also saying don't be overconfident about your competence. So obviously there is a balance that you have to strike with both these lessons. What I mean by paradox of aspirations and efforts is that today I find that there are a lot of people who just to cite an example, we were hiring for a uh, purchase and administration person. It was I won't say entry level, but a mid-level position. And this person was the candidate who had appeared for the interview wanted. He had about 2 or 3 years of experience, and I asked him what is it that you are looking for from this job. So this guy wanted to be a manager. So I asked him, manager with 2 to 3 years experience, do you think you can scale up to that? And why are you looking to be a manager so early in your career? So he said, because as a manager, I can give instructions and I don't have to do the work. Obviously, the interview ended right there. But that was not the only. Of course, that was an extreme case, but that was not the only such instance that I had. So somewhere there seems to be a significant gap between the efforts we want to put in versus the aspirations that are there, right? The third thing is recognizing the trade-offs. Every decision we make involves a trade-off. Whenever you make a choice, sorry, not decision, every choice that we make involves a trade-off. If you choose to have a Chinese dinner over a North Indian dinner, you have decided to give up the North Indian dinner for that day, right? This is the same with all the decisions that we make when you are relocating or when you're transitioning. You have to recognize what the trade-off is. You have to identify what you're getting for what you're giving up. So when you transition from the US to India, or when you transition from Dubai to Goa, you have to be clear about what you're giving up, and you have to be clear about what you're getting. You cannot go on comparing, the roads are like this in this place and the roads are like this in that place. That's a known, right? We all grew up here. So there's no point in berating about some of those things. But what you have to be clear about is that you are giving up maybe some material aspects of what defined your life for a more vibrant, maybe a social ecosystem that you are now getting plugged into, a greater ecosystem of family support, greater flexibility, back home. So it's important that we recognize the trade-offs. I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong, but I'm saying we must cultivate this mindset of identifying what are the options that we are looking at and what is the trade-off and what is the balance that we're trying to strike. So let me quickly go on to how am I doing on time? Okay. So let me quickly go on to the business environment. I just want to quickly talk about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the business environment in general. This is not an exhaustive list, but I thought it'll be good to get the lay of the land in terms of where we stand. The strengths of the business environment, if you're looking to come back to India, if you're looking to come back to Goa, is that India is a very large and intricate market, which means that it is able to cater to and generate enough volumes for whichever level in that hierarchy you are. Are you an employee? Are you looking for a job? Are you looking to start your own business? Are you looking to be a self-employed professional? Are you looking to offer some niche services? The India is today a very large market which covers all of those combinations. There is a significant and growing emphasis on the enablers, right? Infrastructure development, online delivery of government services, at least central government services. I think the state governments have a lot of catching up to do. Hopefully they'll get there soon. But if you look at central government services today, many of them are delivered online. I would say they're fairly predictable, and you can get your work done. There is a lot of rationalization of the regulatory framework. I won't say red tapeism is zero or bureaucracy is zero. A lot of those are required because you have to have checks and balances when you're running a large government. But there is a lot of rationalization that's happening. There is a very, very strong financial services infrastructure that I would say has largely fallen in place and is still developing. A lot of unskilled members of our workforce today they use Google Pay to check whether their salaries have got credited. I was astounded once because a few of them started using Google Pay before I started using Google Pay. In fact, they were the ones who motivated me to start using Google Pay. MasterCard and Visa went and lobbied with the US government because they were unhappy about the whole UPI and the Beam infrastructure. I think that was a great endorsement of the kind of financial infrastructure that has come up in the country today. And I think today, like I said, there is an increased awareness and an increased demand and an increased insistence on quality. In the years gone by, quality consciousness was not our strength. We still have a long way to go, but today I find that quality is thought of first rather than last. Quality of a product, quality of a service is thought of at the inception stage itself and not after there's a problem, right? So those are the strengths that I see of the business environment. The weaknesses are some of the legacy ones. Dispute resolution is still a problem. Physical delivery of government services is still something that's a struggle. The general productivity and the organization and the seamless access to talent pool is something that leaves something to be desired. There are a lot of initiatives, both private as well as government, to enhance these skilling. But I think they still have some way to go. But while that's a weakness, that's also an opportunity, because if you are somebody who has experience to offer, who has efficiency to offer, certainly that you are at an advantage. And then the last one is digital connectivity, right? Digital connectivity is still something that we are still struggling with. I think the bigger cities have got it figured out. The tier 2 are still okay. Tier 3 still a problem. So what are the opportunities? Today, there is a lot of emphasis on formalizing of the organized sector, as well as a transition from the unorganized to the organized sector. Right? So this throws up a lot of opportunities for a lot of professionals, because all these businesses require help, require guidance, require handholding in this journey from the organized to the unorganized sector. The example I gave you of the safety belt for the guy who comes to replace the tiles on your roof or the roofing sheets on your roof, that is an example of formalizing of the unorganized sector. It's still the unorganized sector, but they are now more conscious about safety best practices. They are more conscious about getting the right tools, getting the right power tools to get their work done, to become more efficient. And all of those are throwing up a lot of opportunities. Right? there is a big dearth of new age professionals, graphic designers, social media managers. All of those are today a big gap. And just like what's happening in what's happening in developed economies by in the governance, risk and compliance space, the GRC segment, today in India that is becoming a full-fledged industry, right? So I'll talk about that in a minute. And of course, if you are an investor, there is a fairly quickly maturing ecosystem of VC funding, venture capitalist funding, and different channels for you to be able to come in and invest. Consultant, what the laws are for NRIs, but did I go on mute?
No,
You're
okay,
fine.
Suhas.
We can hear you. We can hear you, Suhas.
Okay, sorry. Right. So that is so that's about the opportunities. The threats that I see is that there is a lot of increased activism. Maybe the intentions are good, but the impact is a lot of disruption. So every time somebody says, I'm not happy with this project, I don't want this road to be developed, I think we have to think twice about, are we doing ourselves a service or a disservice by doing that disruption? And that's why I was talking about that whole ecosystem and the multiplier effect and those the opportunities that it generates. The efficiency of execution of a lot of government projects is still unpredictable, and that's still a problem. And there is an increasing inward focus. I'm not a big fan of it personally. I know there are reasons, I know there are benefits of that, and this is this whole discussion of this is a global phenomenon, by the way. This is nothing to do with Goa or with India, but this increasing inward focus has become a global phenomenon. This whole thinking of Baile, that is something that is a global problem. And the reason we are having this session is because this same mindset has manifested itself where you are today. And people are saying that we want the ones who are not natives of this place, we want them to make way for the natives of this place, right? So I think this is I don't think that's a sustainable model, because the whole world has progressed through cosmopolitan societies and cosmopolitan contributions, collective contributions. So I think this increasing inward focus that's happening all over the world is not sustainable. And somewhere water is going to find its new equilibrium. So the opportunities, like I said, come from formalizing or transitioning to the organized sector because of industry best practices, safety norms, compliances. There is a lot of domain expertise that is required today in a lot of fields. New age professionals, creative skills particularly is something that everybody wants. The other thing I want to mention is that the forms of business are also changing today. Today, a small family business like ours doesn't require a full-time graphics designer. We cannot afford a full-time graphic designer, but we need a graphics designer, and we need a graphics designer every now and then. The same with an IT administrator, right? This kind of freelancing by professionals is a win-win situation, because the professionals get to choose their projects, and a small business like us gets to outsource it without having increased overheads. Right? So those are a few examples of opportunities. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to spend much time on this. I already spoke about the GRC segment. The governance, risk, and compliance segment is becoming a big industry. I mean, it's becoming a full-fledged industry in India today. So you need company secretaries to certify your financial statements. You need fire safety auditors for your factories and so on. I'm almost done, but I'm also out of time. So let me quickly talk about this slide. I think in terms of developing our skills, it's important that we develop what I call the T model of expertise, right? So over time, we develop depth of our expertise in our own domain. So I may be a nurse, I may be a chef, I may be a import-export consultant. Over time and with experience, I develop very deep domain expertise. Now, if I'm going to start off on my own, or if I'm going to do something on my own, whether as a businessman, as a professional, it's also important that I develop that breadth of expertise, right? And what is that breadth of expertise? It is all the supporting activities that are required to run the business, right? So it could be taxation, it could be sales, it could be import export, it could be your KYC for your financial services. All of these are extremely important because, like Coach Raymond pointed out, there's no point in having this expertise if you're not able to translate that into sustainable cash flows, right? Because that is what the whole objective of a business is, right? So these are some of the common concerns. What is the right time to move? How will I adjust to life in India? There's a Chinese proverb that says that in the context of investing, there are only 2 days which are good for making a good investment. One was 10 years ago, and the other is today, right? So that's the case with all of these. There's today is always the right time, so don't worry about it. So this is my last one. I want to end with the lesson of the trapeze artist. Trapeze artists are apparently mentally conditioned to not look at the safety net below them, because if they look at the safety net, then the risk is high of them missing the next swing. Because the success of a trapeze artist is in being able to grab that swing at exactly the right time and move on to the next one. So if you're distracted by the safety net, you risk the risks of you missing that swing are higher. So get your safety net in place when you're executing your plan B. Keep your plan B in place.
I believe we lost Suhas. Let's give him 1 minute to come back.
Josephine,
Can
you
you hear
can.
me?
Suhas, now we can hear you.
And can you still see my screen?
No, we lost your
No,
screen.
we can't see your screen.
Okay, it's the last slide anyway. 1 second. Could you give me permissions to share my screen? Ah, okay, there it is.
Yes, we did.
Okay, can you see?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Suhas, are you there?
Yes.
Josephine,
Yes. I
I
think
suggest-
Suhas has started sharing his screen right now. We can see your screen, Suhas. You're on mute. Yes.
Now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Maybe an internet outage. So that's pretty much all I had. So if yeah. So that's the conclusion and recap. I'm going to skip that, and I'm straight away going to welcome you all to Goa. Looking forward to seeing all of you here. Thank you. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Suhas. I like the trapeze artist, where he was conditioned not to look at the safety net, and we truly have to take the step back to Goa. And I like the perspective of, our well-being is adapting to growth. If we don't grow, we don't adapt. And truly enough, our performance is based on our potential minus the interference. Right now, I'll go straight into, if any of the panelists would like to pose a question to Suhas, they're most welcome. Take the screen over. Any of the panelists?
Yes, Suhas, I would like to come in. Awesome, very detailed, very well spoken, and very well communicated. Suhas, I
Thank you.
would like you to elaborate on one point. Consider we have decided to get into business. Most of us are scared to scale up. So can you elaborate, the difference between being small and actually building scalability?
So it's an interesting question. Somewhere I had read that performance is the enemy of size. I think today this is a problem that I find with a lot of other. This is a common problem. The bigger you grow, how do you find the right balance between being nimble and continuing to be successful as a business? I think there is no easy answer, but the formula that I have found that works most is something that you pointed out in your slides, that you have to empower your employees. You have to be able to train your employees so that you are able to get reasonable decision making done without you having to be personally present and without you being a bottleneck for that decision making and the conduct of the business. Like I said, not an easy answer available, or not one that I have anyway, but I think that's a guideline that I have found works for people who have been able to strike that balance.
I've got one more question, Suhas, and that
Sure.
is, the relationship with government and the
Right,
relationship with the community.
right.
Somewhere this relationship where business is concerned is mostly adversarial. I know you elaborated a little bit in your talk. Could you go a little bit deeper into this? How we could be partners rather than adversaries?
I think according to me, it has to do with that mindset. And I think there is a vicious circle here which has perhaps grown over the years, and somebody has to break that vicious circle. Um, Today, what is happening is that I think governments are also realizing, and I think this COVID crisis has been a catalyst in that in thawing of those relations and building up that element of trust. Because today, for the first time, we can hear not only people talking about promoting businesses, because that is the only way to generate more employment, more economic activity, but also I think the businesses are also recognizing that they have to also do their bit in breaking that vicious circle, and are embracing a lot of socially inclusive projects. Today there is also the CSR initiative that the government has started, I think about 6-7 years ago, around 2012 or 2013 was when the new companies law was enacted, and there is a significant thrust on CSR, and because of CSR, a lot of funding has has started flowing into community projects. So to your question, I think it's a vicious circle that somebody has to take the first step of breaking. I think some of those steps have been taken. I think it's important we all cultivate that right mindset. That's the reason I talked about that paradox of money, right? So somewhere somewhere I still see remnants of that mindset, that if this guy is a successful businessman, he must be a cheat, and if he's a really successful businessman, he must be a really big cheat, right? So I think that mindset has to break, and I think everybody has to do their part, including businesses. I hope I've answered your question.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Suhas. There are two questions from the audience.
Sure.
How do we know what are the businesses that are lacking in Goa?
Well, I think good question, particularly good because I don't have an answer. Uh, how do you know the businesses that are lacking in Goa? I think a quick Google search will help you identify it, right? If, for example, you do a search for FSSAI accredited food lab, there's only one in Goa, right? And you look for let's say package designers or suppliers of biodegradable plastic. A simple Google search, I think, would help you identify who is there and who is not there. today there are a lot of these content aggregators like India Mart, and I forget some of the other names, Suleka. There are a lot of these yellow page type of content aggregators on the internet that are available, and a simple Google search should help you identify who is there and who is not there. It'll help you identify how crowded or how not crowded that space is.
I'll just take the last question.
Sure.
What is the best online resource to get details of all government schemes?
The Government of India website. Go to the Government of India website. I think it is okay, let me look it up quickly. Just do a Government of India search, and from there are links to it's www.india.gov.in. Okay, that's www.india.gov.in. You go to that website, you will find links to all the ministries that are there, and most of these central government ministries, again, I'm emphasizing central government. I really hope the state governments are going to catch up soon. Today, a lot of the central government websites are up to date and they are predictable. So if those websites tell you that you need these 7.5 documents to get your work done, 8 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10, it's only those 7.5 documents. So www.india.gov.in.
There are a few more questions. Since lack of time, we'll reply to your questions via your registered email. Okay. Thank you, Suhas, for
Sure, thank you.
the hands-on experience of having an enterprise ownership skill. Yes. Moving forward, we have our next speaker, Nestor Ranger, a 52-year-old agriculturist. He and his team have helped 500 families in his native village of Saint Estevão to convert fallow and unused land into productive organic paddy fields. An electronic engineer by trade, Nestor spent most of his times away from Goa in cities like Mumbai and consequently Vadodara, where he was the manager of a factory owned by a Japanese multinational corporation, Aiwa Manufacturing, consumer of electronics. In 2002, the factory shut down with the Japanese MNC closing shop around the world. After the company shut down, he returned to Goa to open an electronic service center and showroom dealing in consumer electronic products, with service centers in Margao and Pandrum. He had about 40-odd employees working with him. Everything changed in 2007. He decided to shut shop and venture into farming. Just before getting out of the electronics business, Nestor bought a 7-acre land in Thani, a village in Goa's Satari Taluka. Today, this strip of land, which extends up to 40 acres, includes a dairy, a goat farm, a mango plantation of 700 plus trees, and a massive cashew orchard. Nestor is now busy encouraging other villages to adopt this model. He is happy to share the learnings from Saint Estevão and initiate Goa on a community cultivate mode. As he wisely says, for people to take up paddy cultivation, they must see it as profitable. Moreover, if it's done collectively, there are many advantages. He even thoughtfully adds, this is my way of activism to protect our field, make it profitable, and in the process, retain Goa's identity. Please welcome Nestor to share how he planted a seed with a belief of a better tomorrow from a valley of green field. The screen is yours, Mr. Nestor.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Nestor.
Can I continue?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, okay. I'll just give you a brief intro. You've already got the intro from Madam, but anyway, I was an electronics engineer in a mass production unit where we were manufacturing about 15,000 TVs as well as about 7,000 audios in a 10-hour session. it was really hectic and it was good. But anyway, I used to handle the production as well as all India service, as well as the entire engineering of the department. So in 2002, I came down to Goa after the company shops stopped. And for about 5 to 6 years, I started an electronic showroom and a service center where I employed about 40 odd people, which I subsequently closed down in 2007 and went full time into farming. Started with 7 acres, now touching around 40 acres. And like it was already told to you all, I've got cashew orchards, mango orchards, many other fruit plants. And in fact, I got about 40 odd varieties of fruits sourced from different parts of Asia, mostly from Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam. And I got a small nursery at the farm where I sell different types of exotic fruit plants. And for the past 2 years, I've even been doing a special mango called the Cardos Malcorad. There's just one tree. It's such a fantastic mango. It's even reached the President of India. And there's just one tree, and I propagate that tree as well as sell the fruit of that tree. So that's regarding that. Then seeing what's happening in Goa is, unfortunately for Goa, due to its popularity, like when I was working in Delhi and outside the state, the first thing people used to ask you, yeah, Jameen ka kya bhao hai? What's the price of land in Goa? And what's happened nowadays, everybody wants to come to Goa. So till everybody is satisfied with their second homes in Goa, this pressure on land is not going to stop. It's only going to increase. And the only land that I see available now are our hills in the hinterland and our paddy fields and our fields which are lying mostly fallow in Goa. So what I decided was, let's start it at home. I'm from the village of Santistev. It used to be called, it's still called Ilya Verd, or the Green Island. And we were basically an agrarian society. But over the years, over the past many few years, most of our people have gone on the ships, as they are called tarbotis in our village or in Goa. And all the lands, can anybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
No, I think the screen has gone. My screen is not there anymore.
We can hear you. Please continue.
Yeah, okay, I'll continue. So what I decided was, let's start it out in my village. Like, as they say, charity begins at home. So I said, let's start out in Santistev. There was another reason for starting out in Santistev. Most of you all must have heard of Father Bismarck. He was another person who was trying to preserve the greenery in Goa. And he's from my island. And he was after me for a long time. I being in agriculture for quite some time. He told me, why don't we start cultivating our fields which are lying fallow? And the fields that are lying fallow are being eyed by builders. You take a look at Taligaon, you take a look at Santa Cruz. Means most of the new projects that are coming out in paddy fields. I don't know why that is being allowed, but whatever, it's happening, and it's happening on a very large scale. So I decided that I start out in Santistev. And what we did was, like, nowadays, as you know, there's a big shortage of labor in Goa. It's very difficult to get labor, and whatever labor you get, the rates are pretty high. And so we decided to take up, like, my village of Santistev has got around 30 lakh square meters of Kazan fields. As you know, Kazan fields are basically low-lying fields, mostly saline, and mostly meant for paddy. These are fields that the Kazan system is not a Portuguese thing. It's about 2,000 years old. These are actually basically a backwater field, that have been claimed from the backwaters, and through a very ingenious system of bans and manors and pois, that these fields have been kept for cultivation, mainly of paddy. So what I decided was to start with paddy cultivation. That being one of the easier things to start with, because we mostly cultivate paddy in the Kharif season, or the rainy, as it is called, the rainy season. And So we had a lot of meetings. We got a lot of support from the agriculture department. There are a hell number of schemes with the agriculture department. And after taking all their help, we decided to cultivate around 5 lakh square meters initially. So 5 lakh square meters is about 125 acres. And to cultivate such a big thing, there's not sufficient labor. So we decided to go in for something called mechanical cultivation. So the first stage of mechanical cultivation is basically you plow the full field. You don't need to have the equipment yourself. The government of Goa, the agriculture department, has got some people, some persons, some farmers or some persons who operate as service providers. So there are service providers for different this that you want to do, different works that you want to do. So there is a service provider for plowing. There is a service provider for this. So we got a service provider for plowing the fields. We plowed the fields and got it ready for transplanting. The next thing that we did was we decided to transplant the fields. So for transplanting, instead of using the kameris or the local ladies who actually do the transplanting and who are not very easily available, we did something called mechanical transplantation. The service provider for mechanical transplantation in Goa is Father George Quadras. He is the pioneer of mechanical transplantation in Goa. And we took his help. And with his help, within a month or so, we managed to plant around 5 lakh square meters of paddy. So that took about a month. So by July 15th, we were ready with our transplanting. So the next thing that we had to do was to do the de-weeding. Now there are two things that you can do for de-weeding. You can either use weedicides or you can go for a mechanical de-weeding. Like our project being organic, we decided not to use weedicides. So we decided to go for mechanical de-weeding. So we use something called cono weeders. And also then one more thing that we decided was, like, around our village where my farm is, there are a lot of ladies, because in Sattari, farming has more or less been given up. There are a lot of ladies who are lying idle. So these kameris were brought from Valpoi to our Sandiste village. But the only thing was they had to be transported up and down everywhere. And they were brought to our village, and around 15 of them helped us to do de-weeding of nearly about 70% of the area. The remaining 30% we couldn't manage and we left it as it is. The good thing about doing this de-weeding of these ladies is that each of these ladies managed to get around 30,000 rupees just before their festival of Ganesh Chaturthi. So that was a pretty good idea that we use these ladies, that they, as a social cause, they make some money. And secondly, because we use these ladies, we do not change the biodiversity. We do not harm the biodiversity of that place. Like, there are so many snakes, there are crocodiles, there are fish, there are earthworms, there are snails, there are frogs around, which will definitely get damaged or die with the weedicides. So with these ladies, we managed to do the de-weeding, and our crop turned out to be fantastic. I'm sorry, I can't put the presentation now. It was on another computer which is lying at my farm. So anyways, so we got the de-weeding done, and the crop turned out to be very fantastic. And so the next thing that we did was we decided to do the harvesting. That was around November. So even for harvester, the government has got a scheme of mechanical harvesters which you can avail at 50% of the actual price. So it costs about 1,000 rupees an hour to get the harvester working. And in 1,000 rupees, you can do about 4,000 square meters. So with these harvesters, we managed to harvest everything. In fact, the good thing about the harvester is that you don't require to remove the grain. You get the grain out, means even the threshing is done in the harvester. What you get out is the grain. So we collected all the grain and then we took it for cleaning or winnowing as it is called. So it is dried first and then taken for winnowing. So after winnowing and when measuring, we managed to get about 300 grams per square meter. And being Kazan land, saline lands, actually, if you do it with chemical fertilizers, if you do it in a place which is not saline, you should be expecting at least 700 grams per square meter. But still, we managed to do it. We managed to do it at 300. We managed to get 300 grams per square meter. And the best thing about us is because the big amount was pooled in, a big amount of land was pooled in, and our cost of cultivation just turned out to be around 4 rupees per square meter, whereas the normal costs are not less than around 7 to 8 rupees a square meter for 1 meter of paddy in Goa, due to the high rates of kameris and whatever your labor and all the other things. So after we managed to get the paddy cleaned up and winnowed and packed in bags, after we did our calculations, we found out that we were just breaking even. Means the amount that we are going to get for paddy, the minimum support price, if you sell it to authorized government, what is that, dealers or authorized government purchasers, you get a net amount of 20 rupees per kg, which includes the amount that the government gives you as a minimum support price. At that rate of 20 rupees per kg, you do not make any money. We just managed to break even. So what we decided was to do a further processing. We decided to process our rice, and by processing, we decided to get some value addition in that. The another thing about this was that a lot of youth in our village got involved in this project, and they helped out, and most of the families, like it was nearly about 500 odd families who offered us the land to do. So most of the families helped us during the transplantation time in carrying the trays of seeds and carrying the trays of the seedlings, etc. So what we did was we took this to a big factory in Kudal. This factory in Kudal accepts only 25,000 kgs at one time, nothing less. So they process 25,000 kgs at one time, and they have everything, including something called a sortex, where you can actually sort your rice according to color. So this factory, we managed to get it without touching our hands to it, without any human interference. You get a packed bag. We packed bags of 25 kgs, and then we brought it back for sale. Unfortunately, most of it, nearly all of it, got over in Sandhastave itself. All our villagers picked up. In fact, our model of cultivation was that, like, each villager, whoever offered us the land, even paid for the cultivation of his land at the rate of 3 rupees 50 paisa per square meter. So they paid for, like, my family to own some land. So suppose you own 1,000 square meters, you pay around 3,500 to the farmers club to cultivate your patch of land. You can pay more and you can get some money or a dividend from that. So after we process the rice, we sold a lot in Sandhastave, and what remained, we put it in the market. I mean, in the Goa market, we just put out social media messages, and everything got picked up. And secondly, our rice, we don't polish our rice. We just do a very minimal polishing. So most of the rice that we got is unpolished, and we kept it as brown as possible. We grew mostly a variety called Jyoti, and in some places we grew Korgut and some other varieties that work on the saline areas. So we managed to sell everything, and after seeing that, we made a decent profit out of that. So from that profit, we gave a 13.5% dividend to all the people who had invested in our project. So a person who had 1,000 meters of land, we gave them 3,500 plus 13% on their dividends, on their investment. They could either take it in the form of money or they could take it in the form of rice, which was priced 10 rupees less than what we sold in the market outside Sandhastave. So the villagers were happy. In spite of that, after giving the dividend, we still had money left. So with that money, we we managed to repair a Manos or the sluice gates of the Kazan, which had broken just luckily for us just after we finished our harvesting, and it inundated about 5 lakh square meters of fields. So we got the Manos repaired, and if we had kept the fields inundated for too long, what happens is over a period of time, once the rain stopped, the salinity of that place starts increasing, and I don't think we would have been able to cultivate for the next 2 or 3 years. So after that, we managed to get this rice, and basically that was it. So we did all that. We got the rice. People got their dividends. So what I wanted to say is, like, we still made money from that in spite of pricing our rice at a very nominal price. The next season, there was such a good response. We took on 10 lakh square meters of rice. Unfortunately, the season that we took up 10 lakh square meters of rice, our village was flooded for about 25 days. All our fields were under 6 feet of water, and we lost most of our produce. Our files have gone to the government for some compensation. So hopefully we'll be getting some compensation. And this season, seeing our project, we have done, due to the COVID problem, we didn't take up too big an area. Due to there would definitely be a shortage of labor, the shortage of something. We took up very minimal this, but many villages have started. Like Santa Cruz the village of Santa Cruz, under my guidance, has taken up 1 lakh square meters of paddy fields. In Diwar, a friend of mine has taken about 10,000 square meters. A village called Dongri, which is in Neura, has taken up nearly over 1 lakh square meters of land. And so this thing is, the movement is picking up. I've got a lot of inquiries. I have a Zoom call nearly every 3 days regarding the same thing, regarding farming thing. And it is it's not all that this, but if you sell your rice, and secondly, one more thing about selling rice in Goa, we had done some research recently. Goa consumes 10 crore worth of rice every month. Most of it is white rice, which is actually just carbohydrates, no nutritional value. The brand is totally removed out of that. That brand goes to a factory where they remove the oil, make rice bran oil, and they send the de-oil brand. The de-oil brand is sent it to factories that make animal feed. So basically what we are eating is just carbohydrates with everything, all the nutrition removed from the rice. So what I have taken up is, like, I pick up now as my own private enterprise. I pick up rice from different farmers across the state who are cultivating paddy in Kazan lands. I pick up their paddy, paying them 3 or 4 rupees more than what the government would pay them. And I get every 2 or 3 months, depending on the output that has been sold, I process about 25,000 kgs of paddy every 2 or 3 months. And even though we had this COVID problem, my stocks are just flying off. In fact, next month, I'll be processing another 25,000. And slowly, so the main aim was that our villages get under cultivation and our fields remain for what they were meant to be, fields, not what is that, building colonies, which I don't see most of the buildings in Goa, like they have become second home for the so-called people. And these second homes are basically empty for 10 months or 12 months, 11 months in a year. And just to cater to these second homes, our fields are being filled, our hills are being cut, our forests are being destroyed. So maybe my view of thinking is different. We definitely need development, definitely roads, but there has to be a cutoff. And people thinking that they want a piece of Goa, unfortunately, they are destroying the piece of our land. All our fields are in pieces and tatters. Our hills are being cut. Our trees are being slaughtered, and so that's what is happening. Secondly, to get into farming like this is basically for people to come from Goa, who are coming back from the Gulf or wherever due to the unfortunate situation over there. Lots of people I heard are losing their jobs in Kuwait, especially. I think you can take up farming. See, like I got even a nursery. Some people can go into nurseries. The Cardozo Malkurat the Cardozo malcora tree that I graft. This season, I sold about 400 trees at the rate of 1,000 rupees each. I could have priced it more and it would have gone higher. I've got orders of about 2,000 trees this season, which I don't think I'll be able to handle. Then people can go in for milk, start a dairy. There are hundreds of schemes. There are fantastic schemes by the government of Goa. No other state in India gives us schemes. Anybody can visit the animal husbandry department of their taluka, offer government schemes in agriculture. You can go in for vegetable cultivation. You can go in for so many things. All the schemes are available with the government. They are available on the Goa government website, or you can just visit the taluka zonal agriculture office, meet the zonal agriculture officer or the officers over there. And of all the departments that I've found, the agriculture department is the most accommodating to most of the people. I'm sure I've never been asked for a rupee bribe to pass my file for any subsidy or something. I'm not sure about the other departments because I've not done that. But in the agriculture department, we've never paid 1 rupee to any officer. And most of the officers are very, very knowledgeable, and they definitely help the farmers to take up agriculture. So I think many people who are coming back to Goa can definitely take up agriculture. I will just suggest that they please go into integrated farming. You sort of hedge your bets, just don't put it in one basket. You can go in for poultry, you can go in for piggery, you can go in for goats, you can go in for cows. There are different schemes. You can go in for your fruit plants, you can go in for your vegetables, you can go in for paddy. So that's what I wanted to say is, please go in, start agriculture. If you got parcels of land, you can still start agriculture and you can do it. So I think I made my point. So this is what I wanted to say to everyone. So if anybody wants to ask me some questions, they can please ask me some questions. I'm willing to answer. In case I do not know the answers of that, I will speak to the relevant authorities or the competent authorities and get an answer for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nestor. I'd like to encourage the other panelists to ask any questions if they have.
Yes, Josephine. I would like to ask Rangel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but can you increase your volume a bit, please?
Okay, can you get me now?
Yeah, I can get you now.
Okay, so Rangel, since you spoke about integrated farming, could you also elaborate on gobar gas and how domestic fuel consumption could get integrated with that?
Yeah, actually, see, I forgot to mention about goat gas because this was more of the community farming that I was focusing on. You can actually, most of your cow dung that you get, like you got a dairy, you got your vegetables waste, you got your poultry waste, you can just put it in your gobar gas. There is a scheme by the government where I think it costs you just 25% of the actual value of this. You can go in for a 1 cubic meter, you can go for a 2 or 3 cubic meter and get the gobar gas thing. In fact, I'm working on a system where I will be able to generate electricity from gobar gas using gobar gas. Now at the moment we are using gobar gas just for our cooking. But with this gobar gas, what we do is, there's another advantage of gobar gas. Most of the slurry that you get out is mostly composted. It's nearly composted. So directly we use it for vermicompost. I make around 10,000 kgs of vermicompost every month, which I managed to sell at around 20 rupees a kilo. We inoculate that vermicompost with a host of bacteria, mostly beneficial bacteria. Like there are bacteria that fix nitrogen. There are bacteria that the potash soluble bacteria, phosphorus. There's a full consortium of bacteria that we add to that. So that vermicompost, plus there are people who ask for different mixtures, which I use for my mango trees. Usually I sell what I use in my fields. I don't sell something that I buy from the market. So we mix it with different organic, just like you get rock phosphate, you get dolomite, which is a calcium magnesium compound. All our rocks, there is muriate of potash, which is rock, which is mixed, and they give a good effect for the plant. But I suggest that as a person that is taking in farming, do not go in for organic farming immediately. Go in for a mixed farming. It's not, because organic farming, it takes time for your land to get live. Organic is basically all about the organisms in the soil. So it takes time for your land to get live. So you go in for a mixture of both. Because initially, if you go in for organic farming, I don't think you'll get the output, because most of the people who say they are going in doing organic farming, it's not true. They bring things that are even bigger than when you do with chemical farming. I've seen people selling watermelons as organic, but the size of that is even bigger than the ones you get in the market, which are grown inorganically. So I suggest that you go in for both, and slowly over a period of time, like I've changed this over after a period of about 7 or 8 years. I've gone now totally into organic. In fact, in my mango orchard, my cows and my goats are left throughout the year, except from the time of flowering to the time of harvesting. So what they do is they remove all the weeds from the plant, so I don't have to employ a person to clear the weeds. Plus, I get manure free of cost. Actually, it's not free of cost. There's nothing such thing of free, because you have to take care of your animals. But it's like it's naturally, most of my fields are manured, and so that's it. So somehow we managed to go. So if people want to learn something, they can please visit me. They can learn from my experiences. I'm basically not a farmer. I did not have any experience in farming. But over a period of time, I built it up to such a level that I think I can advise some people to go in, so that they lose minimum amount of money when they start. So if anybody who's interested in starting farm, please get in touch with me, and I'll be more than happy to help you all start out.
Thank you,
Any other-
Nick.
Yes.
We just have 2 questions from the audience.
Yes.
Are there any farming projects in hand that require JV or VC for us to invest, and how profitable are they?
Yes, actually, what is happening now? In fact, I'm already working on that. I've already set up a team. In fact, like for paddy cultivation, at present, with a lot of people going into paddy cultivation, at present, the amount of service providers in Goa are highly insufficient. So if there are people willing to take up the business of becoming service providers, especially for transplanting, many more villages will take up mechanical cultivation. And I had done a study of this like the service provider who does cultivation, who does the cultivation of this, who provide the service for cultivation, especially mechanical cultivation. He makes a profit of about 1 rupee per square meter. So with one machine, you can do about 7.5 lakh square meters in a season, that is about a season is about 2.5 months. So that person can do about 7.5 lakh square meters with this. He makes about 7.5 lakhs rupees of money for that season. And these machines nowadays are available with the government of Goa under 50% subsidy. So I think there are people who if they do not mind, I can get them in touch with the required authorities, and they could start a venture of service providers. I'm starting out with some friends of mine, some school friends of mine. After seeing my videos, they have decided to invest in a few tractors and service and machines. So we'll be buying about 2 machines and 2 tractors, and preferably next season we'll be doing only 2 or 3 islands like Divar, Sandastev, and we'll be doing Santa Cruz. So we'll be starting on a smaller scale and then seeing. And if people are still, and South Goa is still got a lot of capacity. There are fields that are still lying fallow. And if people want to take it up as a business, they can just pay a minimal amount to the owner of the land. I think it's hardly 20-25 paisa. People are willing to give out their lands and start this. They can take up the field on cultivation, even if they don't own the fields. They can take it up and do it. I'm always there for guidance. I've been guiding all over. I do not charge 1 rupee for guidance. I'm more than happy for people to start farming. It helps preserve our lands, and that's my basic aim. Actually, it's not the money, and I manage okay with what I get from my farm. And so if people are willing, please do contact me. And as a venture capitalist, I don't know, very sure, but if people are still willing to invest in a project, I can put them in touch. In fact, just yesterday we had a meeting at Don Bosco's, and Don Bosco's are working on a similar line. And if we could get people to invest in some machinery and all, I think more fields can be taken up for cultivation. And that's it. So basically, keeping my fingers crossed that things go on. And definitely more and more villages are taking it up. Like Chikali has done it, and Santa Cruz has done it this year. Dongri has done it this year. Next year, I think Shinchini is doing it. So fingers crossed and hope that it goes on.
We'll take the last question for your session.
Yes, that.
Could you share the link of zonal authorities to get subsidies and assistance?
Yeah, I'll do that to you all. But the best thing is you can go. There is a site called eKrishi. It's the government of Goa site, and you will get all the numbers on that. Just go to the government of Goa site. There is a Goa online also. I think there's a Goa online site, or there's a government of Goa. You can just Google for it, and you will get all the zonal agriculture officers. You'll get all their phone numbers, and you can contact them. But anyway, I will send it to you by mail, so you can pass it on to that respective person.
Yeah. Thank you, Nestor, for this
Welcome.
knowledge about agriculture. And we do know that food is one industry that will never end.
Because what has happened is like Goa has got no food security. We have got so much land lying fallow. Like if there's a problem in Belgaum, which had happened last year during the floods, vegetable prices had crossed even 150 at one point. And there is so much land. I think there's enough land in Goa to be self-sufficient vegetables and food, in many other things in dairy. In fact, milk, more than about 3 or 4 lakh liters is coming from outside the state. And in spite of having such fantastic schemes, in spite of getting nearly 40 rupees a liter for milk, which the other states get only, I think Maharashtra at the moment is getting only 18 to 19 rupees a liter. Still, we are not doing it over here. So I think there is something basically wrong which has to be addressed by the government as to why people are not, in spite of having such schemes, why Goa is importing food from outside, why Goa is buying a lot of stuff from outside. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Nestor.
Welcome, ma'am.
It is well said. Be like a tree, stay grounded, keep growing, and know when to let go. And food is one industry that will always prosper. And organic food is now the current trend. Moving forward, I'd like to welcome the last speaker on the panel, Cyril D'Souza. Cyril D'Souza is currently the Assistant Director, Trade Promotion, World Trade Center, Goa, located in Tanjung, Goa. He has worked across industrial sector through the industrial body, the Confederation of Indian Industry, where he served as the Deputy Director, Trade Fairs Division. Mr. D'Souza represented Confederation of Indian Industry, Mumbai, at the Gulf Expo in Dubai in February 2011. Gulf Food Expo is known to be the world's largest annual international food and beverage trade exhibition. He was a speaker at the GES 2017 event, which was held to commemorate the second visit to Goa of Ms. Purnima Varora, founder and CEO of NUSSIC, Denver, USA. Mr. Cyril was the chief guest at the inaugural of International Seminar on Sustainable Development Goals held at Goa in October 2017. He represented WTC Goa at the World Trade Center Association 50th General Assembly at Mexico in April 2019. Mr. D'Souza, through WTC, organizes seminars, workshops, management development programs to help the local industry network as well to understand how they can be competitive locally and internationally through accessing the global market. He is regularly invited by educational institutions for conducting sessions on trade marketing, etc. Mr. D'Souza has delivered presentation on value chains for Goa Institute of Public Administration and Rural Development, GPAD, Government of Goa, and has addressed budding entrepreneurs from colleges like Dempos, Zantes, Carmels and Rosaries, among others. Please welcome Cyril to give us a tour around and about, leaving a footprint by not walking on our tiptoes. The screen is yours, Mr. Cyril.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Josephine, to all my organizers, Mr. Vensho, to all my panelists, and to all of my guests. In fact, I'm so happy that I can see so many of you from the start right up to see you all and be with us just now. I will just start my screen sharing in a few moments, but if you can bear with me for a minute, I shall have this going. Can you see my screen now? Hello? Hello, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can, but not yet your presentation. It's your Outlook that's open.
Okay. Let me see now. Is it now okay? Is it okay now?
No, I'm still
Not
seeing
yet?
your Outlook.
Okay.
Maybe you shared the wrong screen.
Now? Okay.
Yeah, now we can see the presentation.
You can see it now, right? Okay. So let me start. So my name is Cyril D'Souza, as you know, and I work as the Assistant Director of Trade Promotion at World Trade Center. And today I'm going to throw some light on what is the role of World Trade Center Goa in promoting of exports from Goa. And I'm so very happy that some of my panelists, Coach Raymond, Suhas Malia, and also Nestor, has given you all different aspects of businesses in which you can get. For example, when you come back from Kuwait, what you can look to as far as business is concerned. And today I'm going to throw light on what we can do for promotion of exports from Goa through the World Trade Center. So to begin with, WTC, World Trade Center Goa, is promoted by MBRDC, that is the Moksha Gundan Vishwasaraya Industrial Center. And they have also promoted other World Trade Centers, and which are located in Mumbai, Jaipur, and Bhubaneswar. And this is a picture of our World Trade Center in Mumbai, where we host a lot of events, and we also have office space, cabin space, so that businesses, if you are operating out of Mumbai, can take advantage of this. So let's move on to what is a World Trade Center. The World Trade Center is an organization which is located in any country, and it helps business access international trade and investment. It brings together offices of government and industry that carry on trade and investment. When we look at international trade, we have got to understand a certain nuances about international trade. The first one is, when we do international trade, we are trading across boundaries, and therefore how we can transcend these boundaries is something that we have to understand before we can go into international trade. The second one is that in international trade, there is more political influence. For example, we can see the trade war that's currently going on between China and the US, and how it is affecting businesses. Similarly, when we are doing international trade, we have to have many languages and many cultures to deal with. And I think a successful businessman starts with understanding the culture and also the languages of that particular country that he is going to export to. In international trade, we also see a variety of financial. For example, you may have to deal in dollars or euros or whatever financial transactions or currency that each country is looking at. And therefore, international trade has these type of challenges. And in order to overcome these challenges, we have to produce products which are planned and developed according to the international markets. Therefore, in the Middle East, for example, you will not have something like, maybe woolen clothes, but you look at something producing something like cotton clothes, where, that will have a very good demand. Now, what is the importance of the domestic market in global trade? So when we look at global trade, we are looking at exports. But when you look at exports, we are also seeing that exporters should have a good, strong local market demand. Because when he has a good local market, some of his fixed costs can be recovered from the profits in the local market. And then when he is exporting, he can become much more competitive in the international market. And that is why World Trade Center Goa and the World Trade Centers take a lot of interest in both the domestic market as well as the export market, because we always feel that the domestic market is a trajectory, it is a step for us to be successful in the international market. So how does the World Trade Center Goa promote exports? So in order to promote exports, first of all, we have seminars, workshops, panel discussions on trade-related topics. For example, we had a workshop on mushroom growing. We had a seminar on agro and its technology. For example, we had panel discussions on how exports can be more competitive. And this is what helps us to understand how we can better our businesses. We have networking events, where members meet with each other, understand their businesses, and then, they can, by understanding each other, take their businesses forward. We also plan to have trade missions to explore overseas markets. In fact, we had planned a Middle East trade mission from 14th to 17th of April, but because of COVID-19, we had to shelve our plans. We also promote a promotion of inbound trade delegations from overseas. And therefore, when the overseas trade delegations come, you members can meet up with them, find out what they want in their countries, and then gear up the exports exactly as per the demand that the overseas buyers want. World also encourages participation in international exhibitions, where you can understand what the international market is offering, and you can also get a huge number of buyers for your products. We also project and promote something known as the Trade Point. This is open to all our members, which is an online trade portal where you can interact with importers and exporters from across the globe. We also give you access to publications of the WTC, that's the World Trade Center. These publications may be on trade agreements, they may be on tariffs, etc., etc. And when you are a member, you also get access to the World Trade Center Association card. And this card enables you to take the benefits from the World Trade Centers, which are scattered across the world. Therefore, how does World Trade Center Goa serve businesses? First of all, we offer trade research and trade education. Trade research is a facility whereby you can understand what are the products and in what quantity they would be required in a certain country. And based on that, you could make your projections for your exports. Similarly, we have trade education, where we have courses on foreign exchange, we have courses on languages, etc., etc. In fact, two of the important courses that have been coming up in the next month, one of them is business plan preparation. So if you are coming back from Kuwait and you would like to start up your business, you can avail of this course where you can understand how to make a business plan, so that when you approach your VCs or the financial institutions like banks, they will be able to access your loan much faster when you have a very professional business plan. We also have a 3-month postgraduate diploma course in foreign trade, and this is all online. So for 60 sessions, you could have a professional course in which you will be able to run your business. So another service that we give to the businesses is trade delegations, as we said, both outbound and inbound. We organize exhibitions, and we also have a digital platform known as the On Trade and Trade Point. So what do we do when we have to cross barriers, when we have to cross countries? I will present to you a case study where we have a trade promotion understanding with WTC or the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia in the USA. Today we know that US is one of the most lucrative markets, but one of the toughest to get in and survive and thrive. And therefore we have, actually a small understanding like WTC Greater Philadelphia has with other World Trade Centers, we too have with them. And we have worked out a three-pronged strategy where any of our local companies would like to enter the US market, they can avail of this strategy. This strategy is in three phases. The first phase answers the question, should I enter the market? So in the US, who are my competitors? Can I compete with them? That is the first phase that you have to answer. And this is what we recommend. The second one is, how should I enter the market? Should I enter it all by myself or should I have a potential partner? And the third phase is, who is going to do it? Am I going to have a joint venture? Is it going to be a franchise? Is it going to be direct exports? All these answers are taken up in this case study that we have and which we can promote as a three-phase program if you are entering the world, the US market. Now, as it was mentioned in my CV, I was at the World Trade Centers Association, that is the collection of all the World Trade Centers. We have a regular meeting every year. And in 2019, I was at Mexico. And I was very fortunate to meet up with the team of WTC Greater Philadelphia. And in fact, to my left is Linda Collins, who is the owner and director of the World Trade Center in Greater Philadelphia. And to her left is Mr. Alfred Basilicato, who is the International Business Development Manager for WTC in Greater Philadelphia. Now, besides this, in what areas is Goa working on? And I particularly, will point out to the fact that Mr. Suhas Malia also talked about changing mindsets. Now, I have to digress from what Mr. Malia says. He said that one of the, how we can actually progress our business is to empower our employees. We have many training sessions. And when I call up MSMEs, they say, I'm the whole and soul. I've got just 2 people who work with me. So I said, why don't you send them for training? And he says, if I send them for training, then they will learn all the skills, they will move out, and I'll be left high and dry. So this is in contrast to what Mr. Malia has found out. But we have to change this mindsets in either way, that we have to encourage and empower others, and at the same time safeguard ourselves. And I'm particularly looking at changing this mindset. Ami goyan muntano, amka puro, amka asa, amka jorn myota, amki aning amka kayanaka. So this type of satisfaction is there. There is no hunger to really take that leap and jump. And we are looking at that to change their mindsets and say that there is a bigger market, more than Goa, more than India. Your whole world is your market. And the international WTCA, the World Trade Centers Association, which Goa is part of, has got 330 World Trade Centers in almost 100 countries. And this is the one solid network which we can use for exporting our products. We are also working on this area of quality, quantity, and consistency. Any exporter, if you have, let's say, 2 kgs of rice, you can't export them. So you have to have quantity. You have to have, let's say, 10, 100, 500 tons of rice, which you want to export. Standard quality. Rice from Aldona is different from rice from Karakana. How do we do that? And all these things, once we get them together, we can have a standard quantity. And we also have to have a consistency where we say that if we have 500 kgs of rice this year, next year also we'll give you 500, and next year also we will give you 500. So this is the way where we are working on quality, quantity, and consistency. We have also identified certain products. The question was, which are the products we can look at here and we are looking at something different. We're looking at agro products like rice, jackfruit, coconut related medicinal plants, light engineering, information technology, automation. We are looking at small MSMEs. We are looking at entertainment, education, and we also assist self-help groups. So these are some areas, where you can look out when you are coming from Kuwait. These are the areas which are going to be in the future. Jackfruit, for example, if you know of this firm IKEA, which is a Swedish Norwegian firm, they are going to make jackfruit as a superfood. And through jackfruit, they are going to use this jackfruit as meat related dishes for those who are vegetarian. So this is what jackfruit has a potential for, and we would like to promote that. What does World Trade Center do? We work with different organizations. For example, here is a meeting in progress with the Directorate of Industries and Trade and Development. So this is a Government of Goa initiative. And we are interacting here with Mr. Akshay Potekar, who was the Deputy Director at that time. And through this interaction, we have made some suggestions and recommendations to the government, and hopefully they will be translated in the new export policy that we will be making for Goa. We also work with the MSME DI, and we do different programs. One of them here is the intellectual property rights. One of our speakers said that it's very important for us to have intellectual property rights. I think it was Mr. Suhas, and he said that, when you have this IPR registrations, cost effectively 9,000 rupees. If you are registered with MSMEs, 4,500. So we do these type of programs where we bring out these type of knowledge to the MSMEs. We also work with MSMEs on a different program known as Z, zero defect, zero effect on the environment and zero defect in your manufacturing. And this is what we are doing with the MSMEs. And we also work with National Bank of Agriculture and Rural Development in order to encourage agriculture. World Trade Center in Mumbai, which is also in our group, every year in the month of November, December, has a World Trade Expo. Last year in 2019, we had promoted a Goa Pavilion, which talked about, we promoted firms with green buildings, we promoted agro, we promoted IT, we promoted consultancy services. We also promoted different types of the, if you can see in this picture here, where we promoted the rural or the self-help groups very, very prominently. So this is part of the exhibition, and World Trade Sector Expo has participation from almost about 40 to 50 countries, and we saw almost about 350 international delegates who attended this. So very good potential for Goa, a good showcase for Goa to the World Trade Centers. World Trade Center Goa also has a team, which is known as Team WTC Goa, and it consists of experts from different panels or sectors, right from your firm, let's say a law firm, to your chartered accountant, to business development, to all professionals from different sectors that we have identified. And this team is a think tank for WTC Goa, and it advises on any investment or any trade that you would like to take up in certain sectors. For example, let's say a company from the US would like to come to Goa and say that they want to have some business in the solar panels or the solar power sector. We have got a panel who will be able to assist them to access all this information. And then we have the lawyers, we have the CAs, everybody with us, so that all the package that he requires, he does not have to go to different agencies. He can come to World Trade Center Goa, and we can help him with all the formalities. And ultimately, that has to be given to the Goa Investment Promotion Board, which is the final authority. Indonesian trade delegation visited Goa last year, and we are very happy to accommodate them, especially in the healthcare sector. What are the items of export from Goa? Earlier it was INO, now it is processed fish, cashew nuts, pharmaceuticals. What is the potential? light engineering, agro products, rice, spices, consultancy services, IT, automation, and green buildings. So what is WTC Goa? WTC Goa is an ideal meeting place for trade, industry, government, business, and academia to build a global footprint. WTC Goa will facilitate trade and investment promotion. It will assist local businesses foray into global markets and will strengthen competitiveness of Goa. And what is our mission? Our mission is to grow trade. And you can meet us at WTC Goa, office number 26, Block C, EDC House, Dr. Atmaram Borkar Road, Panaji, Goa, 403001. Our website is wtcgoa.org. And it's currently we having an outage on the website, but we shall have it with us very, very quickly. Okay, so that's all from me. Till we meet again, thank you and God bless. So over to you, Josephine. In case there are some questions, I will be able to take them, or we can move on.
Mr. Cyril, I have a question. Sorry.
Thank you, Cyril. Some of the audience did not know that Goa had a World Trade Center. So it was a very good update for all of us. Yes. Yes, I'll hand over to the screen to the panelists for any questions.
Yeah, so I had a question. Actually, although I knew there was a World Trade Center in Goa, I didn't realize there was so much that it was doing. So thank you to the organizers for having Mr. Cyril on this panel. Mr. Cyril, just a question for you. Anything that the WTC is doing in developing the cold chain for the supply chain in Goa? Because I think that is something that all over the country, other than Amul, perhaps, that is a big deficiency in the supply chain logistics in the country. So anything around the cold chain?
Not exactly on the cold chain, but
Okay.
I can understand from where you're coming, because as also Nestor said, there's a lot of potential for dairy products and things like that. We have got a lot of potential. I can start working on this. But what we are doing really on the ground level is to connect all these self-help groups. Just last 2 months ago, we during the time of COVID, we have launched a digital platform known as Digital Baila. Baila means women, in Goa, and Digital Baila. It is made by one of our Goans, prominent Goan citizens, who is actually now in the US. His name is Mr. Sudesh, and he has given them this digital platform. And through this digital platform, what we are doing is we are going to connect all the self-help groups in talukas, where we will have a brand name for this type of, all the products that we are actually growing in Goa, right? From foodstuffs to even crochet to different types of clothes that we can make. And through this app, we are going to connect the markets and internationally. So this is going to be a stepwise, upgrade. It's not going to be, maybe, jump into the pool once and for all. No, you test the waters, you have a base locally, take it nationally, and then take it internationally. And I would love to, Mr. Malia, to start on this project, and whatever assistance and whatever we can do through World Trade Center and through its network, I'm ready to offer that services also for the cold chain.
Sure, thank you. I will get in touch with you separately. There were a couple of other things around the coconut processing that I found very interesting.
Yes.
Cyril,
Yes.
Could you elaborate a bit on service sector? How is WTC facilitating and helping people in the service sector?
Okay, Coach Raymond, I think, when I was making my presentation, you will see that I did not, so much, depend on mining and tourism and even IT. I just promoted them because there are large bodies which are already promoting these, right? These sectors are being promoted. Mining, for example, is down now. It's not being actually functional, right? But tourism is being, and so also is IT. But what I am doing is I am combining IT with security. For example, when we talk about blockchain, when we talk about cybersecurity, and I'm promoting that sector where, all my members who are doing businesses online, they would like to have, for example, certain securities in place. And this is the IT sector that I am promoting so that my benefit, my members benefit, and through their benefiting, the IT companies also can reach out to more people around maybe India and around the globe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cyril.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, I said thank you, Joseph.
Okay. We have one more question from the audience. Does the Goa WTC solicit companies from outside India to set up their back offices or manufacturing hubs in Goa? If so, how do we tap into these setups?
You see, what we can do is we have, let's say outreaches with different World Trade Centers. So the first thing is that we have to understand if there are companies who are interested in Goa, right? So if I say, let's say there is a company from Canada who would be interested into coming in Goa, definitely we can reach out to Canada through our World Trade Centers there, or maybe even in the US, or for example, even in Germany, or to whichever area that you want. So this is a connect that we can give. But the important thing is that we can also identify for you. For example, you think that there is potential in Australia. There's a big World Trade Center coming up in Australia. Why? We can tap them up and we can give you that information. And of course, if they are setting up back offices and manufacturing, a business process outsourcing, yes, the World Trade Center is one of the foremost in which, we give office space for them to operate in. And this is something, which is a unique thing, which we can definitely, of course, bring up to Goa. And this is how, our potential investors can tap into this sector through the help of the WTC.
Thank you, Cyril. If you have any more questions, please email it to us from your registered email and we will answer them promptly. Please also mention the question.
Okay, can I just take, there is one question from Valerian. In fact, he said that does WTC has any project reports along with its feasibility available for the returnees in Goa? It's not particularly for returnees of Goa, but I have got, let's say, case studies on this, the different ASEAN or other, trade bodies that are there. And also we have got on trade agreements that India has with other countries. They are always available with me. I can give that for you for reference. And it's not only for returnees, but anybody who's interested in, understanding these type of publications, they're most welcome to come. And even if you would like, I can reach out. I can travel to your company or to your office and share that with you and be of service to you. So thank you, Valerian. I think that is something which is good that you have been. There's another question which I can take very, very, very quickly is how are you all promoting cybersecurity? You see, cybersecurity needs a lot of education. And unless you are educated what is cybersecurity, there is the Internet of Things, there's the blockchain and things like that. For lay people, it becomes a little bit difficult to understand. And we facilitate and promote cybersecurity by organizing seminars, workshops, interactive, meetings with these type of experts. And through this, we try to promote the cybersecurity so that you will be able to, safeguard your business interest when you're doing things online.
Thank you, Cyril. At this point of time, I think any more questions we'll appreciate if you send us an email with the name of the panelists to whom the question is directed, and we'll answer back through an email because of shortage of time. We appreciate the eminent panelists who shared with us their skills, experiences, nuances, and precise timing. All of you all took us on a journey up to the mountaintop via the green fields and to the world, for the comforting thought that we indeed can start to shape our today for a better tomorrow in our own Goa, where our roots are and always will be. I would like to thank Raymond Pereira for creating an opportunity for each one of us by organizing the event and for encouraging all of us here in Kuwait and all over the world to take the frog leap back to rustic Goa. I would also like to thank Evancho Condros, Aldrin Menezes, Sebi Narona, Camo Santos, Goa Dimensional, Goa Global for helping with marketing the event. John Fernandez and Crawford D'Souza for helping with advertising and campaign. To maintain the decorum of the barn, I would like to thank our technical team of Hazem Ibrahim and Fatima Abdullah. To the Goa where the pastures are green and the nostalgic smell of the land after the first rains await each one of us in our old Balkaun. Thank you for joining us. The barn door is opening. The adventure begins. Have a good evening.
Before we wind off, I have a poll that needs to be shared. If you all can reply to the poll so that we know what could be the next panel. I've launched the poll. I will remove the co-host from the co-host so that they also can respond. We have a decent feedback. We have approximately 55 attendees. So I'm looking for at least 70% of responses so that we can plan the next panel discussion and we get the right panelist for the job. We have reached 69%, 73, 75%. Wow. And still members are voting. If we can go a little more, I will end the poll in 10 seconds. So it's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We got the feedback and we will publish it shortly. Thank you so much for your time. I would like to thank everybody for attending. And with that, I adjourn today's meeting and discussion. And let's make Goa great again.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And all have received the emails. They have received the contacts of the panelists on the chat. If you all have any questions, please feel free to reach out and let's work towards returning back to Goa. Thank you and have a great day.